morning, good morning, good morning. And welcome to the 52nd annual Mayor's Good Friday Breakfast. My name is Dave Ryman, and I'm a longtime member of the El Segundo Rotary Club and this El Segundo community. And this breakfast has been going on for 52 years. 52 years of celebrating the virtues that make this community great. And why do we do it? Why do you do it? It's because the people here in this room believe in compassion, believe in generosity, commitment, dedication, hard work. This year, the proceeds from this breakfast will benefit the El Segundo Ed Foundation and the El Segundo Teen Center. Mark Twain said, "Always do what is right. It will gratify half of mankind and astonish the rest." Well, I believe that people in this room understand that like few others, because the people in this room have chosen to be extraordinary in their generosity, extraordinary in their compassion, and extraordinary in their support for helping make this a better community. So give yourselves a hand. A loud ovation. Congratulations, because you're making this a better place, one step at a time. And now please join me in welcoming Marisol Rios, the Assistant Executive Director of our host, the Automobile Driving Museum.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. My name is Marisol Rios, and it is my privilege and pleasure on behalf of the Automobile Driving Museum to welcome you here today. We are delighted to have you here at the 52nd annual Mayor's Good Friday Breakfast. Thank you for coming, and thank you for the Rotary for choosing the museum to host this event. Please feel free to enjoy the museum after the event is over. Enjoy your breakfast and the event. Thank you.
Thank you, Marisol. Now please stand as I introduce Scott Nickel, El Segundo City Council member, who will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Now, for those of you who are wondering where the flag is located, it's at City Hall. So if you could turn around to the west, and then please remain standing after the pledge for the invocation, which will be led by Reverend Vanna Ferguson from St. Michael's Episcopal Church.
I've never seen the back of so many heads. Please join me. Ready? Begin.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now, our invocation. Please remain standing.
Let us pray. Loving God, we come to you today mindful of all you have given us. We give you thanks this morning for this breakfast, for the food that sustains our lives, and pray for those who are in need. We give you thanks for family and friends, the joy and companionship we share, and we pray for those who are alone. We give you thanks for faith, the hope that fills our lives, and we pray for those who struggle with doubt and fear. Most especially today, we give you thanks for your Son. Help us to use all your gifts to us in love, with love, and for the love of your world, as Jesus commanded us to do. Amen.
Thank you, Dinah. John Kennedy reminds us how important public service can be when he said, one person can make a difference, and everyone should try. Let me introduce you to just some of the people in this room who have chosen to make a difference. I have two requests. For our special guests, as I call your name, please stand and remain standing. And for the rest of us, please hold your applause until all the names are called. Let's begin with El Segundo Mayor Drew Boyles, El Segundo Mayor Pro Tem Carol Persta, who unfortunately could not be here, El Segundo Council Member Scott Nickel, El Segundo Council Member Chris Pimentel, El Segundo City Clerk Tracy Weaver, El Segundo City Manager Greg Carpenter, El Segundo Fire Chief Chris Donovan, Scott Houston, Director of the West Basin Municipal Water Board District, City of Lomita City Council Mark Warrenek, El Segundo School Board President Nancy Cobb, El Segundo School Board Vice President Jeannie Nishimi, El Segundo School Board Clerk Tracy Miller Zarnicki, El Segundo School Board Member Emily Lane, El Segundo School Board Member Paulette Fidel, El Segundo's Citizen of the Year Richard Proxel, and former El Segundo Mayors Eric Bush, Bill Fisher, Suzanne Fuentes, Sandy Jacobs, Carl Jacobson, Gordon Steffen, representing Mayor Floyd Carr, his wife, Helen Carr, and Mayor Dick Van Branken's partner, Phoebe Buchan. Welcome. And now, please welcome El Segundo Mayor Drew Boyles.
Thank you, Dave. Is this all right if I pull this? All right, I usually do not have notes for those of you who have seen me speak, but I'm gonna have them today because I've got a little story to tell. But before I do that, I wanna thank everyone for attending it's unbelievable, 52nd annual El Segundo Good Friday breakfast. Dave touched on this, but this started with a couple key members, pillars of the community with a great idea. 5 people sitting around on Good Friday, and how many people are here today? Quite a few. So it's really a legacy for El Segundo, and I love being here for this event. The founders were Harry Weber, Sam Douglas Sr., Sam Douglas Jr., Floyd Carr, and Pat Scott. So thank you to the 5 of them. First location was at the Gordon Clubhouse, and the first charity supported, anyone know? Little quiz, YMCA, good. Did you say that already, Dave? Obviously I wasn't paying attention, my apologies. Okay, so thank you to the Rotary Club, Automobile Driving Museum. You guys have been doing a lot for the community lately. Thank you for hosting. And I want to acknowledge the Teen Center. Those kids were out there. I'm sure they were thankful to get out of school. Nonetheless, they were serving us breakfast. Let's give them a round of applause. And the El Segundo Education Foundation. So Good Friday is a solemn day, but it's also a day of hope, a day of optimism, hope for our children, hope for future generations. And I was speaking with Mashia and Barbara Voss and Heidi Weiss, thinking about what can I say today that's going to inspire others? I have a limited window. I have 90 seconds. No, I have a few more minutes than that. But what could I say that would inspire people? And I was reflecting on some of the things that I'd experienced in the community as of late. And one stood out. And I was struck by an article I read, I think it was the El Segundo magazine, I get that one confused with the El Segundo Scene and the El Segundo magazine by Easy Reader, I apologize for that. But one of those magazines had an incredible article about a young man who's newish to the community, who has an incredible story. And I just want to go through some of those aspects of his story, and I won't even give it justice, but I want to try. So, as our community comes together on this Good Friday, let's take a moment to honor and appreciate a very brave man who exemplifies hope and perseverance right here in our own community. You may have seen the cover article featuring Jespa Awama in the El Segundo magazine. His story strengthens my faith and belief in our community of El Segundo. And he's proof that when we join together, we have the power to uplift and change lives. And Rotary is a perfect example. Yes, they're competition for Kiwanis. Good competition's always good. Rotary, Kiwanis, perfect examples of helping others in the community. And Jespa's story is one that has touched me deeply. If you're not familiar with Jespa, he's an extraordinary young man who is now part of our community. Came to El Segundo from Cameroon, Africa. When Jespa was just 10 months old, he crawled into an open fire pit inside his family's hut and was severely burned. Closest medical care was a 3-hour walk away, which his mother made with Jespa in her arms. Unfortunately, the most the clinic could provide was some bandages, and he was sent home. He returned home to recover from his extensive wounds, which took the sight from his right eye, damaged his left eye, and severely damaged his right arm and left him scarred and disfigured. He grew up used to seeing other children cry or run from him when they saw him. His condition was seen as a curse where he was, and he usually kept his eyes and head down. But Jespa prayed every day. He prayed that if it was God's will, I would remain as I am. But if it's not God's will, something would happen. Well, more than something happened. Members of our El Segundo community were the catalyst for his prayer, specifically Ruth, who was at the table. I want to acknowledge Ruth. Let's back up a little bit. Rebecca Akumba grew up in Jespa's village, but had moved away to a larger city where she went on to college and law school. One of Rebecca's old classmates sent her a photo of Jespa. Rebecca shared this photo with her sister, Ruth, El Segundo resident and founder of the organization Plant a Seed. Plant a Seed is providing books and school supplies to children in Africa. Ruth and her friend Rochelle Morenes planned a trip to visit Jespa's village for the organization. They met Jespa and were struck by his strength and passion for books, education, and hard work. Michelle shared his story on social media, and Colleen Farrell, who's the marketing and communications manager at Torrance Memorial Hospital, saw the video. She shared his story with her colleagues, hoping they could make a difference in this young man's life. Doctors from Torrance Memorial Burn Center and Children's Hospital LA performed dozens of surgeries to drastically improve Jespa's functionality and appearance. And Jespa flourished. I just had an opportunity to talk to about what he's doing right now with his life. It's amazing. His love of learning and the support of his medical team and the El Segundo community took him through graduation at Varina High School, and he's now a student at El Camino College studying biology. A community coming together as El Segundo did reinforces the joy, the hope, and faith that lives in each and every one of us every day. May we honor Rebecca, Ruth, Michelle, Colleen, the numerous medical teams, teachers, and everyone that touched Jespa's lives. Our community is not just here for each other, but for those in need around the world. I think Ron Robeck, one of Jespa's teachers, teacher from Marina High School, says it best. Jespa is a walking example for all of us of humility, acceptance, kindness, and tenacity in the face of great odds. I love that about you. Thank you. You're an inspiration. May we all honor and remember Jespa's strength and perseverance as we move through our daily lives. He's an extraordinary young man, and we're lucky to have him as part of the El Segundo community. I leave you with Jespa's words. He said, "My favorite thing about the United States is that people I meet don't see a disabled person who can't do something. They see possibilities." Thank you all for joining us this morning. Thank you, Jespa, for being here. Ruth, thank you for bringing him to our incredible community. And I want to turn it back over to Dave. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Drew. Thank you, Drew. That says a lot about who we are in this space. Let me introduce our musical artists this morning, Zachary Zarek and Allison Shepard.
I'll make you proud of your boy. Believe me, fat as I've been, Ma, you're in for a pleasant surprise. I've wasted time, I've wasted me. So say I'm slow for my age, a late bloomer, okay. I agree that I've been one rotten kid. Some sun, some pride, and some joy. But I'll get over these lousing up, messing up, screwing up times. You see, Ma, now comes the better part. Someone's gonna make good across his stupid heart. Good and finally make you proud of your boy. Tell me that I've been a louse and a loafer. You won't get a fight here, no. Say I'm a gold brick, a goof off, no good. But that couldn't be all that I am. Water flows under the bridge. Let it pass, let it go. There's no reason that you should believe me, not yet. I know, but someday and soon I'll make you proud of your boy. Though I can't make myself taller or smarter or handsome or wise, I'll do my best. What else can I do? Since I wasn't born perfect like Dad or you. Ma, I will try hard to make you proud of your boy. Just one more song for you guys, if it chooses to play. I could show you the world, shining, shimmering, splendid. Tell me, princess, now when did you last let your heart decide? I can open your eyes. a new fantastic point of view. No one to tell us no or where to go. We say we're only dreaming.
But when I'm way up here, it's crystal clear that now I'm in a whole new world with
Now I'm in a whole new world with
wonderful
you.
sights, indescribable feeling, soaring, tumbling, through an endless sky, a whole new world.
Don't you dare close your eyes. Hold your breath, it's better.
I'm like a shooting star. I've come so far. I can't go back where
A
I
whole new world. A
every
new fantastic point of view. I'll chase them anywhere. There's time to spare. Let me share this whole new world with you. A whole new world. That's where we'll be.
That's where we'll be.
A thrilling chase.
A wondrous place.
Where you
and me.
What can I say except thank you? It's, from my perspective, I know everybody in here was just enraptured with the performance because there wasn't a soul stirring in this room. And I just want to thank you for sharing the music and your gift with us. So thank you. And now please welcome fellow Rotarian Mike Briney for the Good Friday Breakfast Scripture reading.
And when he was come nigh, even now at the descent of the Mount of Olives, the whole multitude of the disciples began to rejoice and praise God with a loud voice for all the mighty works that they had seen, saying, Blessed be the King that cometh in the name of the Lord, peace in heaven and glory in the highest. He riseth from the supper, and laid aside his garments, and took a towel, and girded himself. And after he poureth water into a basin, and began to wash the disciples' feet, and to wipe them with the towel wherewith he was girded. If I then, your Lord and Master, have washed your feet, ye also ought to wash one another's feet. And he took bread, gave thanks, and brake it, and gave unto them, saying, This is my body, which is given for you. This do in remembrance of me. Likewise also the cup after supper, saying, This cup is the New Testament in my blood, which is shed for you. Then saith he unto them, My soul is exceedingly sorrowful, even unto death. Tarry ye here, and watch with me. And he went a little further, and fell on his face, and prayed, saying, O my Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as thou wilt. And there appeared an angel unto him from heaven, strengthening him. Now he that betrayed him gave them a sign, saying, Whomsoever I shall kiss, that same is he. Hold him fast. And forthwith he came to Jesus and said, Hail, Master, and kissed him. And he, bearing his cross, went forth into a place called the place of the skull, which is called in the Hebrew Golgotha, where they crucified him and two other with him on either side, and Jesus in the midst. And when Jesus had cried with a loud voice, he said, Father, into thy hands I commend my spirit. And having said thus, he gave up the ghost. Now when the centurion saw that what was done, he glorified God, saying, certainly this was a righteous man. And when Joseph had taken the body, he wrapped it in a clean linen cloth, and he laid it in his own tomb, which he had hewn out of a rock. And he rolled a great stone to the door of the sepulchre and departed. Now upon the first day of the week, very early in the morning, they came unto the sepulchre, bringing the spices which they had prepared, and certain others with them. And they found the stone rolled away from the sepulchre. And Jesus saith unto her, Woman, why weepest thou? Whom seekest thou? She, supposing him to be the gardener, saith unto him, Sir, if thou have borne him hence, tell me where thou hast laid him, and I will take him away. And Jesus said unto her, Mary. She turned herself and saith unto him, Rabboni, which is to say, Master. And then the angel answered and said unto the woman, Fear not ye, for I know that ye seek Jesus, which he was crucified. He is not here, he is risen.
Thank you, Mike. And now Mayor Boyles will share a bit about our special speaker this morning. Mayor Boyles.
Thank you, Mike, for that great reading. Our speaker today, Jeff Barnes, is the best-selling author of The Wisdom of Walt, Leadership Lessons from the Happiest Place on Earth and Beyond the Wisdom of Beyond the Wisdom of Walt, Life Lessons from the Most Magical Place on Earth. Known as Dr. Disneyland, he teaches the only accredited college course on the history of Disneyland. That was news to me. I didn't know there was such a course. Amazing. He's an international Disney motivational speaker, higher education administrator, university professor, and leadership and success coach. He has more than 35 years of professional speaking experience and nearly 20 years experience leading teams in higher education and teaching more than 20 different college courses. He attributes his passion for Disney parks to his love of history, story, and success. He believes the parks teach us some of life's greatest lessons. As long as you know their history, know what to look for, and you're willing to connect it all to your own story. Jeff lives in Riverside, California with his family, and when he's not speaking, teaching, or writing, Jeff enjoys spending as much time as possible in the happiest place on earth. Let's give a warm welcome for Jeff Barnes.
Good morning, El Segundo. Now, I know it's Good Friday, and I know it's a little bit of a somber weekend, but Sunday's coming, right? And Sunday's about celebration. Can we get started a little bit early? And let's have a good time on this Good Friday morning? I start with a question. How many of you have ever been to Disneyland? Thank you. I'm home again. Last week we presented in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and only about half of the people in the room raised their hand. I'm not used to that because everyone in Southern California, at least the folks I've met, have been to Disneyland at least once. How many of you remember your first visit? Excellent. Well, I want to start with a story about my first visit because it's been more than 30 years since I walked into Disneyland for the first time. I hated it. And now, here I am some 3 decades later, teaching that college course, giving professional presentations, even writing books on what has become my favorite place anywhere in the world, Disneyland. So you've got to be wondering, wow, what changed? Well, I can tell you this, not the park. You see, what I hated about Disneyland way back in August of 1988, what I hated was the park was too hot, The park was too crowded. We waited and waited and waited. We waited more than 3 hours for our first Disneyland ride. And in 2019, if you go to Disneyland, especially in August, let me assure you, it will still be too hot. It will still be too crowded, especially after Star Wars Land opens. We can still wait more than 3 hours for our favorite Disney park attractions. No, it's not the park that changed. I changed. You see, when I first walked into Disneyland, I knew nothing about Walt Disney, nearly nothing about his original Magic Kingdom. And so I got curious. And that's when I discovered Walt Disney, he was the hero in his story. He built Disneyland for a purpose, the purpose of telling stories that I now know are challenging you to go out and live your own great story. The citizens of El Segundo, that's why I'm here this morning. We're gonna have a great time over the next 45 minutes. We're gonna talk about Walt Disney, Disneyland, Walt Disney World. But more importantly, I wanna use our time together to challenge you. I wanna challenge you to step up as a leader in this community. I wanna challenge you to take the lead in what you do each and every day. I wanna inspire you. I wanna motivate you to be the hero in your own great story. How are we gonna do that? Well, we're gonna start by talking about the importance of making not just a decision, but the decision. The decision to go all in on your goals, all in on your dreams, all in on your success. And then we're going to cover the 5 life-changing choices you must make if you want to turn those dreams into reality. We've got a busy morning, so let's get started. It's been more than 50 years, 52 plus years since Walt Disney died. You want to know what we remember? All of his successes. The world's most popular cartoon character, Mickey Mouse. The world's first full-length animated feature film, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and that dream for a place called Disneyland. But what I fear is that along the way, we have forgotten all of Walt Disney's failures. And so that's where we're going to start on this Good Friday morning. I want you to raise your hand if you have ever failed. Awesome! Because I am in a room filled with Walt Disney. A couple of examples. Right now, you are looking at Walt's first studio. This is Laugh-O-Gram Studio, way out in Kansas City, Missouri. And it was here that Walt worked with the local dentist, creating animation advertisements teaching children how to brush their teeth. But after only 18 months, Laugh-O-Gram Studio and Walt Disney are bankrupt. But it is the bankruptcy, it is that financial failure that compels him to California. Walt boarded a train. He boarded the train, my friends, with $40, a single suitcase, and a one-way ticket. He joined forces with his older brother Roy, who was already out here in Los Angeles, and together they founded the Disney Brothers Studio that today is the largest entertainment company anywhere in the world. But what if? What if Walt Disney never goes bankrupt? What if Laugh-O-Gram Studio is a success? Then maybe Walt Disney spends the rest of his life in Kansas City. The rest of his career only ever working with a local dentist. Right now, I want you to use your imagination. Imagine for just a moment, you're Walt Disney. It's 1923, You are 21 years old, but already bankrupt, already financially ruined. You, my friend, you have a decision to make. You can stay in Kansas City. It's safe. It's comfortable. You have friends. You have family. You can stay in Kansas City and give up. Or you can go all in on your dream. $40, a single suitcase, and a one-way ticket. Board the train. Come to California. Be a hero in Hollywood. What will you decide? Because you see, my friends, our story, our success, it doesn't hinge on current circumstances. I mean, that's what the Good Friday story is all about, right? Our story and our success doesn't hinge on current circumstances. No. Your story, your success hinges on the choices and the decisions that you will make today and every day as you keep moving forward. What will you decide? Well, now that Walt is here in California, he is going to create his first successful cartoon character, and you all know him by the name of Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. And by 1928, this guy is so successful that Walt is boarding another train, this time with his wife Lily. They're headed to New York City. Walt wants to sit down with his distributor, Universal. He's looking, like all of us, for a bigger and better contract. But in that meeting, Walt learned when he signed the distribution deal, he had signed away the rights to Oswald as well. And while he and Lily were busy in New York City, Universal was busy here in Southern California, hiring away the very animators who had helped make Oswald so successful. Walt didn't walk out of that meeting with a bigger and better contract. No, he walked out with nothing. He is staring bankruptcy in the face all over again. But on the train ride home, he remembered a little character who had kept him company during those dark days in Kansas City. Walt pulled out a pad of paper, sketched out the first story, showed it to his wife Lily. Honey, what do you think of this guy? Lily looked at him and said, why Walt, he's cute. What are you going to name him? Well, I'm thinking of naming him Mortimer. Mortimer? Oh no, Walt, that name is awful. Why don't you go with Mickey instead? And so it was in that moment of desperation, that the world's most popular and profitable cartoon character was born. But again, what if Walt Disney never loses Oswald the not-so-lucky rabbit? Then he never has a need for Mickey Mouse. Walt once said, we can never forget, it all started with a mouse, but a mouse born out of desperation. This morning in your story, this morning in your life, you may very well feel stuck. And I want you to know you don't have to stay stuck. None of us has to stay in Kansas City, because we can always make the choice. We can always make the decision to board the train, because it's never too late. It's never too late to go all in. $40, a single suitcase, and a one-way ticket. And once you make that decision to go all in, you're going to discover, just like Walt Disney, that you no longer have to fear failure. Because regardless of what happens, you're going to make our first choice this morning, the choice to keep moving forward. One of my favorite conversations as Dr. Disneyland is to ask folks about their favorite Disney park attractions. We're going to count down the top 3 this morning. I want you to shout cheer when you hear yours. Number 3, wait for it, man. Number 3, It's a Small World. It's a Small World was created for the 1964-65 New York World's Fair, was brought home to Disneyland in the summer of 1966. Today, there is not a Disney park anywhere in the world that does not have a version of It's a Small World. As a result, the song that accompanies this attraction, well, it is the most played song in music history, but no worries. Aside from the history of Disneyland, I also teach American government. I am familiar with the constitutional prohibition against cruel and unusual punishment. We are not singing It's a Small World today. Number 2, Space Mountain. Space Mountain was envisioned by Walt Disney himself. It started showing up on park maps as early as 1968. But unfortunately, technology did not exist in the 1960s that would allow for multiple roller coaster cars on the same track at the same time in the dark. And so we would not get our first Space Mountain until it opened at Walt Disney World's Magic Kingdom, January 1975. Disneyland would get its version, the better version, May 1977. On hand that morning were 6 of the original 7 Mercury astronauts. Number 1, yo-ho, yo-ho. They sing! No one ever sings. I have to threaten to go back and sing It's a Small World if we don't sing Pirates. So thank you for the yo-ho, yo-ho, Pirates Life for Me. Number 1 is Pirates of the Caribbean, originally under construction as a rather pedestrian walk-through wax museum. But in the middle of construction, Walt and his team of Imagineers were called away for the 64-65 World's Fair. When they brought It's a Small World home, they also brought home the boat ride technology and converted Pirates into the iconic boat ride that we all know and love so very much today. Pirates is also famous for being the last attraction Walt Disney personally worked on. Walt died of lung cancer in December 1966. Pirates opened 3 months later. Well, just like you, I too have a favorite Disney park attraction. It's not as charming as It's a Small World, as thrilling as Space Mountain, or as iconic as Pirates of the Caribbean. No, my favorite attraction in all of Disneyland is a mere park bench. And even though Walt built Disneyland to be a park, this is the only park bench in any Disney park that you cannot actually sit on. Every attraction tells a story. Here is the story behind this park bench. In the 1940s, Walt Disney, he is a Hollywood movie mogul, a household name. More importantly, gentlemen, he is the father to 2 young girls, Diane and Sharon. Every Saturday, well, that was Daddy's Day. Walt and the girls, they take off here in Southern California. They go to the beach, they go to the mountains, they go to museums, but far and away their favorite place to go was this little merry-go-round in nearby Griffith Park. And this morning, if you're a mom, a dad, a grandma, or a grandpa, you already know this. When you put a small child on a merry-go-round, do they ever want to ride it just once? No, why? They want to ride it again, and again, and again. And one Saturday afternoon, while Diane and Sharon are spinning on their merry-go-round, Walt Disney, he is sitting on this bench. And it is there that he has an idea. It is there that he has what many would come to believe a crazy thought. It was there that Walt Disney began to dream. There should be some sort of place, a place where parents and children can have fun together. And so it was in that moment on this bench that the dream of Disneyland was born. And here's what I believe. It's not just Walt. every one of you, you've got ideas. Mayor, had a crazy thought or two lately? Please tell me that we all still dream. The challenge is not a lack of ideas. The challenge is not a lack of dreams. The question is, how do you take those dreams and turn them into reality? Well, we would be wise to remember Walt's words, words that tell us all of our dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them. And this morning, what you lack is not ideas. This morning, what you lack is not crazy thoughts. This morning, what you lack is not dreams. What you lack is courage. And I know this because I've been there. When my wife, Nikki, and I first moved to Southern California, we were excited. We were excited because we were going to get to go to Disneyland. We were going to come, like so many of you, local annual pass holders. What we didn't know was that, like Diane and Sharon spinning on their merry-go-round, Nikki and I, we would keep going back to the park again and again and again to the tune of well over 500 times in the last 8 years. And somewhere along the way, I had my idea, a crazy thought. Somewhere along the way, just like Walt Disney, I began to dream of how could I do my job better as Dean of Student Success at California Baptist University. I began to think about student success and student retention. I began to think of taking the story of the Magic Kingdom and marrying it to success stories and leadership principles. Wow, there should be a class, a college course on the history of Disneyland. And some of you are thinking, really? Like seriously, a college course on the history of an amusement park? But others of you are thinking, wow, where was that class when I was in college? Well, I had my idea, I had my dream, but I didn't want to make the choice that all of us must choose, and that is to use our courage to confront conflict. I didn't want to be the CBU professor. I didn't want to be the tenured faculty member who lost his job for pitching such a Mickey Mouse idea. And so you want to know what I did with my dream? I did with my dream what I never want to see any of you do with yours. Nothing. But that doesn't mean our dreams let us go, does it? No, you see, those ideas, those crazy thoughts, they have a way of distracting us in the middle of the day. They have a way of waking us up in the middle of the night, at least my dream did. And then everything changed on the afternoon of May 6, 2013 at 5:05 p.m. I spent the entire day distracted, thinking, dreaming, college course on the history of Disneyland. It's as if the ghost from the Haunted Mansion had hitchhiked home with me and would not let me go. And as I was leaving the university campus, daydreaming about that college course, all of a sudden I heard this horrific noise. I looked into my rearview mirror. I saw my iPhone doing cartwheels down the shoulder of the freeway. Raced up, crossed the freeway, back in the opposite direction, slowly made my way along that same shoulder. But folks, long before I found my iPhone, I first found something else that looked painfully familiar. Because you see, in my distracted thinking, in my distracted dreaming about a college course on the history of Disneyland, of which I had done nothing, you see, I not only left my iPhone on the roof of the car, but I left my iPad as well. And I stood there that day. I stood there with $1,000 in shattered electronics, and that's when I knew I couldn't stand it anymore. I was done standing on the sidelines of my life. I was done only ever thinking about my dream, but never taking action. I was done watching all of those cars pass by and suddenly realizing those aren't just cars, that is my life. I was done. And so I made a decision. Your dream this morning requires some sort of decision. And my decision was this: it was past time. Past time for me to board the train. Past time for me to go all in. $40, single suitcase, one-way ticket. My commitment was this: there was never going to be another day that I didn't work on creating my dream class, the history of Disneyland. I made an immediate appointment with my boss, pitched my Mickey Mouse idea, and there I learned 30 years ago when he was a student at USC, he had worked as a cast member at Disneyland. He loved the idea. And so because I stopped thinking and started doing, I finally got to work on my dream. Syllabus, curriculum, textbooks, guest lecturers, field trips. We had it all laid out. We had it all lined up. And ironically enough, exactly 1 year to the day, 365 days after running over my electronics on a California freeway, I gave the first lecture in my dream class, the history of Disneyland. Guess what? It was awesome! I have never seen students so excited, so engaged in a general education history course. Don't you see your idea, your dream? It matters, and not just to you. But here's my concern this morning. Some of you, like me, many years ago, you're standing on the sidelines. And so what's it going to take for you to decide? What's it going to take for you to start making those 5 life-changing choices? Keep moving forward. Use courage to confront conflict. Here's what I want us to do. Take a moment, pull out your cell phone. I know you have it. It's okay, this isn't class, you're not in trouble. Pull out your cell phone, hold it up. Think about your idea. Think about your crazy thought. Think about that dream that has never let you go. And then ask yourself, what's it going to take for you to board that train? To go all in, $40 single suitcase, one-way ticket. If it will help this morning, after our breakfast, I will meet you outside in the parking lot and run over your cell phone for free. Because it's past time. It's past time for you to board that train, to make that decision, to go all in. Another question for you. How many of you like stories? Of course you do. That's what it means to be human. Humans are wired to love stories. Story is why we read books. Story is why we go to the movies. It is story that keeps bringing us back to Disneyland again and again and again. We love stories. But the challenge today is that every great story requires conflict. And let's be honest for just a moment. As much as you love story this morning, you want nothing to do with conflict. And so I need you to understand this. If you remember anything from our presentation this morning, please remember this. Today, what is standing between you and your idea, today, what is standing between you and your dream, it's not a lack of ability. You can do it. And it's not a lack of time. It's not even a lack of money. No, what is standing between you and living your own great story is an unwillingness to embrace conflict. I know it's going to be difficult. I mean, if it were easy, the koalas in Manhattan Beach would have already done it. You see, my friends, your dream requires you to step up and be that hero. A hero who is willing to sharpen their sword, knowing that somewhere along the way, you are going to have to slay a few dragons or two. And that's okay. Because please remember, the bigger your dragon, the better your story. The bigger your dragon, the better your story. I'll give you an example. It's my own story. The day after I gave the first lecture in my dream class, History of Disneyland, the very next day, I faced the greatest conflict of my life. I was diagnosed with a brain tumor. And the neurosurgeon at Cedars-Sinai said to me, Jeff, it is life-threatening. It's got to come out. Today's Friday. I need you back there on Tuesday for brain surgery. And even if it is not cancerous, because of the invasiveness of this surgery, you are going to be out of work anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks. 6 to 8 weeks. Well, 6 to 8 weeks means no class. 6 to 8 weeks means the history of Disneyland would be wiped from the schedule, never to be seen or heard from again. 6 to 8 weeks means my dream dies. And then I remembered, I've already made this decision. I'm all in, $40. Single suitcase, one-way ticket. I looked the neurosurgeon in the eye, I said, sorry, Doc, Tuesday is not going to happen. And he wanted to know, well, Jeff, what are you doing on Tuesday that's so important, so significant, that you're willing to put off brain surgery and risk your life? And I said to him, well, I'm a university professor. I have class. And he wanted to know, well, Jeff, what class are you teaching? So important, so significant that you're willing to put off brain surgery and risk your life. Now, to this day, I don't know if he was expecting organic chemistry, maybe molecular biology, but when I said to him, history of Disneyland, oh, I thought he was going to kill me before the tumor ever had a chance. But you see, that's when I knew, more than an idea, more than a crazy thought, even more than a dream, this has become my life's passion. And here's why. Every year, folks, in the United States alone, every year, 33 million people go to either Disneyland here in Southern California or the Magic Kingdom at Walt Disney World in Florida. And I don't see the parks as an escape. I see them as an example. I don't see Disney as the place where dreams come true. I see it as the place that can show you how to make your own dreams come true. And that's the message, the mission, a passion, one for which I was willing to risk my life. And so my question for you as an individual, as a leader, as a company, as a team, my question for you is, what's your message? Your mission? What do you do that you're so passionate about, that you're willing to take a risk, not just for you, but for the city, for this community, for your company, for the clients that you serve? You're willing to go all in. $40, single suitcase, one-way ticket. And make that choice to use your courage to confront conflict. Our third choice this morning is to take the lead. When you go to Disneyland, through the turnstiles, into the tunnels, and you step onto Main Street, USA, you need to understand you're not just stepping onto a street, you are stepping into a story. A story where Walt didn't see you as a passive spectator. No, he's challenging you to step up and be an active participant in your own great story. And when the park opened July 17th, 1955, the best stories were told in the original Fantasyland dark rides. You know them because they are all still there. Snow White's Scary Adventures, Peter Pan's Flight, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. Each of these attractions were constructed not as book reports. The goal of these rides wasn't to retell the entire story. No, Walt wanted to tell these stories in such a way that they evoke the emotions we readily associate with story. Snow White's Scary Adventure is all about fear and danger, which is why it freaked you out when you wrote it at 6 years old. Peter Pan's Flight is awe and wonder. Mr. Toad's Wild Ride is humor and comedy in a 1960s psychedelic kind of way. And yet, back in 1955, as much as guests loved Disneyland and loved those original attractions, they were also very confused. Because first and foremost, when you rode Snow White, you went looking for Snow White. You wanted to see her. Everybody was on the lookout for Peter Pan. We wanted to find Mr. Toad, and they weren't there. Walt left the heroes, the lead characters, out of those stories and out of those attractions. Why? Because he challenged us to be active participants. When you ride Snow White, you get to be Snow White. When you ride Peter Pan, you're Peter Pan. Every one of us, we get to be Mr. Toad. How cool is that? Yeah, nobody got it. And so for the next 30 years, guests would line up at City Hall on Main Street, whine, moan, and complain. I just rode Snow White. Did you know she's not there? I just rode Peter Pan 3 times in a row. You know how long that line is. I can't find him. Where is Mr. Toad? And so in 1983, when they renovated Fantasyland, to assuage those endless complaints and endless concerns, they put the heroes, the lead characters, into those stories and into those attractions for the first time. Which is great for fixing Fantasyland. But this morning, it does nothing for you. Nothing for this city, nothing for this community, nothing for your business, for your team, nothing for your dream. And so my challenge to you today is to find your way out of Fantasyland by stop looking for a hero. Be the hero. Because you know what you need to do. So do it. Because if not you, then who? And if not now, when? Because here's the reality, folks. When it comes to that idea, when it comes to that crazy thought, when it comes to your goals, your success, when it comes to your dreams, nobody's coming. It's up to you. And the challenge is for you to step up and be the hero that you've been looking for. The hero that you know that you need. Last August, I was doing a school district kickoff breakfast. And afterward, a teacher who's worked in that district for more than 30 years came up to me and shared with me a text message that, ironically enough, he had received the week before. I want to share it with you this morning. Hi, Mr. Wilder. I've been thinking back on a journal assignment you had us write in the 2nd grade. You had us write about what we wanted to do when we grew up. And I wrote about wanting to work, well, at Disneyland. And how it was my dream to be Mickey Mouse. You left a comment in my journal, and you told me that if that is my dream, then I should go for it. Well, we are 12 years down the road now, and I am happy to tell you that today I am Mickey Mouse at Disneyland. Thank you for your encouragement, for the motivation, and for the inspiration to do what I have always wanted to do since I was 7 years old. Here's the reality this morning. Not all of us can be Mickey Mouse. In fact, I suspect that most of us probably don't even want to be Mickey Mouse. But you know who you can be? Mr. Wilder. By taking the lead and providing that inspiration, that motivation, that encouragement to everyone who surrounds you. Our 4th choice this morning is to let go of our limiting beliefs. How many of you as a hero, you'd love to have a superpower? Of course you would. And the good news this morning is you already do. It's your mind. It's your ability to come up with those ideas, to think crazy thoughts. It's your ability to dream and to make that decision. The decision to go all in, $40, single suitcase, one-way ticket. Abraham Lincoln was Walt Disney's favorite president. And it was Abraham Lincoln who once said, "You live the life you think about." And I want you to think about that for just a moment. You live the life you think about. And this morning, what is standing between you and your crazy thoughts, what's standing between you and your dream is the manner in which you think about them. You're going to have to let go. You're going to have to let go of those limited thoughts that say, I can't, or I won't, I always, I never, I'm too young, I'm too old. You're going to have to let it go. And no, we're not singing that song either. And how do I know that you need to let go of those limited thoughts? You need to let go of that limited thinking, because even Walt is the king of imagination. Even Walt had to let go of his own limited thinking a time or two. A couple of examples. After the success of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs in 1937, Walt went on record saying, I'll never do anything as good as Snow White. In fact, he almost stopped making movies because of that limited belief. Can you imagine? Can you imagine a world without Dumbo, without Pinocchio, a world without Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, a world without Mary Poppins? I don't want to live in that world because I don't want to live in the world of limited thinking. And then secondly, after the instant and overnight success of Disneyland, cities around the country, countries around the world, they kept calling, they were clamoring, they wanted their own Disneyland. And each and every time, Walt's response was always the same. No, there will never be another Disneyland. There will never be another Disneyland. No, I've said it once, I'm going to say it again. There will never be another Disneyland. Nope, there's not going to be another Disneyland. There will never be another Disneyland. Friends, this morning in Central Florida, Walt Disney World at 27,440 acres is 150 times the size of our Disneyland. It is the nation's largest single-site employer and our world's most popular vacation destination, none of which would have been possible if Walt had not let go of the limiting belief there will never be another Disneyland. And so think about your limiting belief this morning. And as you reflect on that, I want to introduce you to Joe Rohde. Joe Rohde is a lead Disney Imagineer. He was responsible for Pandora World, which opened at Animal Kingdom in May of 2017. This is what Rohde tells us. What you think is impossible is an opinion, not a fact. An opinion, not a fact. And Rohde is right. Here's how I know. How many of you, raised your hand, you remembered your first visit to Disneyland, your first visit to a Disney park? Well, my first visit to Disneyland in 1988 didn't go so well, but my first visit to a Disney park actually took place at Magic Kingdom, Walt Disney World in Florida, 1974. And what I remember about that visit isn't making my way down Main Street, pillaging and plundering with pirates, not even chomping on a churro. What I remember about that visit is the challenge of getting to the ticket and transportation system and riding this super cool thing called a monorail. Now, here we are with my family of 6, and some of you are wondering, wow, family of 6, where are the other 3? It's 1974, it took 3 people to take a selfie. And as we made our way to the ticket and transportation system, I realized this is not just a monorail that goes to the Magic Kingdom. This is a monorail that goes to the Contemporary Resort, a space-age hotel. When you're 10 years old in 1974 and you're on a monorail going through a hotel on your way to the Magic Kingdom, that is unbelievable, fantastic space-age stuff. And when that monorail stopped inside that hotel and I looked out at the lobby, I said to my parents, "Whoa! What is this?" And they responded with words that I have never forgotten. They said, "Jeff, it doesn't matter what this is because, well, it's not for us." Well, it's not for us meant we couldn't afford it. It's not for us meant that me and our family of 6, we spent the next 3 nights at the Days in Kissimmee. It meant that for the next 42 years, I don't know how many times I went to Walt Disney World, rode the monorail, through the Contemporary Resort, to the Magic Kingdom. I went to any and all of the other Walt Disney World hotels and resorts, but never, not once, did I step into the Contemporary, because I knew at the ripe old age of 10, it's not for us. And then last summer, Nikki and I were there on vacation, stopped inside the Contemporary, and I just casually said to her, you know, I've never actually been inside of you. What? You're Dr. Disneyland. This is like a flagship hotel. How have you never been inside? And I responded with words that seemed pretty obvious to me. It's not for us. Jeff, what does that mean? It's for everybody. We can have breakfast, we can have lunch, we can have dinner. I'm pretty sure we could even stay here if we wanted. Nikki, you don't understand. It's not for us. And so this past Thanksgiving, because of the encouragement of my wife, for the first time in 42 years, when I rode the monorail and we stopped at the Contemporary Resort, I actually stepped off. We got in the elevator, we went to the top to a restaurant called California Grill, and that's where we celebrated Thanksgiving dinner. How was that possible? Because it's not for us. It was an opinion, not a fact. Our final choice this morning is to dismiss your doubters. Any of you have naysayers, critics? They don't believe in you. They don't believe in your ideas, your crazy thoughts. They don't believe in you and your dream. Taylor Swift would call them haters. Anybody have haters this morning? You're not alone. When Walt came home on that Saturday afternoon after Daddy's Day, he was excited. He said to his wife, Lily, honey, we're going to build an amusement park. And Lily looked at Walt and said, oh, Walt, no. An amusement park? Why, those places are filthy. Honey, that's the point. Mine will be clean. Ask anyone who was at Disneyland in July of 1955, and they will tell you they had never stepped into a public space so impeccably clean. A promise to Walt's wife, Lily, who doubted his dream, Disneyland. On Monday, Walt walks into the studio. He is still excited. He sees his older brother, Roy. Roy, we're going to build an amusement park. Roy looked at his little brother and said, Walt, wow, you have had some crazy ideas in your day, but we are not building an amusement park. Well, fast forward to 1954. Guess what Walt Disney is doing? He's building his amusement park. One afternoon, he calls up his best friend, Art Linkletter. Art Linkletter would go on to serve as the master of ceremonies for the live ABC television broadcast, July 17, 1955, viewed by some 90 million Americans that day. But in 1954, Art Linkletter, he has never even been to Anaheim. Walt calls him up, Art, we're building my amusement park in Anaheim. I'm really excited about it. I want to show you what we're up to. So Walt picked him up in downtown Los Angeles. They drove the 33 miles south. And Art Linkletter, who would live to the age of 96, would spend the rest of his life telling this story. We pulled into what was still obviously an orange grove, with walnut trees, bulldozers, and endless piles of dirt. The second the car stopped, my friend Walt Disney, he jumped out. I'd never seen him so excited, so animated. And immediately, in the middle of nowhere, he began to show me where the railroad was going to run around the perimeter of the park, and how Main Street USA was going to go right down the center, and where the Jungle Cruise was going to meander in Adventureland, and how Dumbo the Flying Elephant was going to soar over this place he called Fantasyland. And the entire time I'm standing there in that orange grove with the walnut trees, bulldozers, surrounded by all of those piles of dirt, and all I can think is, oh, my poor, delusional friend. He's going to build an amusement park way out here in Anaheim? He'll go bankrupt. But you see, my friends, this morning, no one can believe in you No one can believe in you and your dream more than you. One last story. I'm going to go back to Disneyland, only it's July 18th, 1955. I know here in Southern California we celebrate the 17th as Disneyland's birthday. July 17th, that was about the press, the media, celebrities, and VIPs. July 18th, that's the day Walt was most excited about, because that's the day the park was going to open for everyday guests, folks just like you and me. He was also excited because it's the first time that Walt was going to get money for people coming into Disneyland. Money that he desperately needed. The original budget for Walt's Dream was $3.5 to $4 million. And by the time he opened the park, he had spent well over $17 million. You thought you had budget problems this morning. But on that Monday morning, the first person to spend the first dollar to purchase the very first ticket to get into Disneyland, it was Walt's older brother, Roy. We are not building an amusement park. El Segundo, what are you not doing this morning? You got your ideas, your crazy thoughts. We all still dream, right? But what are you doing about them? As you get ready to head out on this Good Friday, I challenge you to take a moment and think, reflect on Walt Disney's bench, and then ask yourself this question. What if? What if Walt Disney doesn't believe in his idea? What if he doesn't believe in himself? What if he doesn't believe in his dream? What if he never gets up off of that park bench? What would Anaheim look like this morning? Orlando? The world? You see, my friends, in 1955, we needed Walt Disney because we needed a place called Disneyland. And in 2019, this city needs you. We need your ideas. We need your crazy thoughts. We need all of your dreams. And I think most importantly, we need you to get up. To get up off of your park bench. To make the decision to go all in. $40, single suitcase, and a one-way ticket. And to keep making those 5 life-changing choices. Those 5 life-changing choices that tell us you're going to keep moving forward. You're going to use your courage to confront conflict. Regardless of your role and your responsibility, you're going to be a hero and take the lead. You're going to let go of your limited beliefs. You're going to dismiss your doubts. And once you make the decision, once you regularly start making those 5 choices, you know what you're going to discover? You're going to discover that even today, dreams, my friends, they still come true. Because dreams, they're not just for Walt Disney. And they don't only come true at a place called Disneyland. Thank you.
Jeff, I want to thank you very much for reminding everybody in this room the importance of both dreams, courage, and action. That's an important message for each and every one of us. We do have a gift for you from the Rotary Club. We hope you enjoy it, and thank you again for making our day here a better day. Appreciate it. Please welcome my fellow Rotarian and good friend Chris Powell with this morning's acknowledgments and thank yous to everyone who helped make this day happen.
Okay, so we have a few people to thank for this, helping us with this event. First of all, to our event sponsors, Chevron, the El Segundo Police Officer Association, the El Segundo Firefighter Association. To our event supporters, the Automobile Drive Museum, Douglas Family Mortuaries, Chevron, S&S Hardware, Cadman Group, First Powell, Nicole Real Estate Group, TG Construction, Edco Waste Services, Doubletree by Hilton, El Segundo for the wonderful cookies, the Jacobson family, and Drew and Lee Boyle's family of companies. Also want to thank our table sponsors, the City of El Segundo, VIP Inc., Helen Carr and family, El Segundo Unified School District. We would also especially like to thank the Automobile Drive Museum for providing this wonderful venue, the El Segundo Chamber of Commerce for their event support, Ed Sue from Studio Printing, Kathy Bofondo from Hillary's Flowers and such, El Segundo TV, the Teen Center React members, El Segundo Catering Company, Doubletree for their delicious cookies, Zachary Zaret and Allison Shepard for their beautiful singing, Laffy Cars 4th grade class at Juan Dianza Elementary in Weisburn for their tradition of bringing the adorable bunny bags that have been a long time tradition, and the Embassy Suites for hosting our guest speaker. We'd also like to thank Gilda Dykeman and her committee of Rotarians for their hard work for this year's event. We also want to thank Dave Ryman for again taking on the hosting duties. Thank you, Dave. And lastly, thank you once again to Jeff Barnes for joining us this morning. You made our event very special.
Chris, I heard you mention Gilda's name. Is that the same Gilda who has a birthday today? Oh. Well, come on up. Wherever you are. Gilda. There she comes. Come on up. Come on up.
My high heels off.
Well, then we might have something for you.
That means you're extra comfortable.
Gilda, we all wish you a happy birthday. I'm not going to make people sing, but... And it gives us another opportunity to thank you.
Thank you for everybody for coming and supporting our club. Have a wonderful spring and Easter. Happy birthday.
And now a quick shameless plug. Please save the date for the El Segundo Rotary 4th Annual Wild Rubber Ducky Adoption Day. It's at the Hometown Fair, May 4th, 2019. All proceeds to go to help support community service projects that help make this world just a little bit better. Melissa Albers will now give our benediction. Can I ask you to please stand?
Before I begin, I want to ask all of you to take the hands of the people next to you. We are given so many blessings, including all of the people in this room today. Accept, O Lord, our thanks and praise for all that you have done for us. We thank you for the splendor of the whole creation, for the beauty of the world, for the wonder of life and the mystery of love. Go in peace to share the splendor, beauty, wonder, and mystery of God's world. With God's help, with every single person in this room, we can change this world. Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Melissa, and thank you all for joining us this morning for the 52nd Annual Mayor's Good Friday Breakfast. We wish you all a joyous Easter weekend.